One thing that I always like to point out when it comes to AI is human communication, especially since we're in marketing, right? Human communication is just complex.
Hey everyone, it's Jenn Foster here with the Elite Expert Insider Podcast. I'm really excited today because we're going to be talking about digital marketing and web design, which is something I know a lot about. But we have an expert that knows more than me. We have Shailesh Ghimire here with us, and he is with New Wine Digital, and he is an experienced digital marketing, been doing this for many years, and he is really big into the pay-per-clicks and Facebook ads and also web design and all digital marketing. So we're going to find out what's hot, what's new, what you should be doing right now, and a little bit about AI. Welcome, Silas.
Thank you, Jen. It's wonderful to be here. I wouldn't sell yourself short. You are amazing at marketing. Come on.
Pretty good at marketing, not as much the web design anymore.
Okay.
I'm old school. I started out with Wix web design,
Oh, okay. Got it.
and then moved to WordPress. But I know you're all like about coding and HTML and custom websites.
Yeah, we do mostly custom websites. If you're going to do Wix, you probably don't need somebody like me because I have developers on staff and designers on staff. Our overhead's a little high. So if you're looking for a Wix, Squarespace, some of these sites, we don't really, we can if you want to pay it. It's
Yeah.
not worth it for you.
I don't recommend those anymore anyways because the SEO just isn't there. The search engine optimization, because you're
Mm,
really hosted on them. Like your website's hosted on Squarespace or it's hosted on Wix. Even though they say it's not, that's really what you're paying for is the hosting there,
yeah,
which is
yeah.
not the same as a standalone website where you own the hosting or it's on your own, whether it's whatever Bluehost or GoDaddy or Namecheap or wherever you're hosting it. It's not the same as Wix.com. It's still under Wix, so it's harder to get ranked, I think. But that's kind of my opinion.
No, it's interesting that you say that because I have been accused of being a WordPress fanboy for many years because I've been on WordPress since 2007. And
Yeah,
so
same.
and I've always been a fan of WordPress. I even when I lived in Phoenix, I was part of WordCamp back in 2011, 2012. Huge fan of WordPress, and I always thought WordPress ranked better on for SEO, but I was not confident enough to make that statement. So I'm glad you said that. I actually
Yeah.
did a test a few years ago. I have several dentists and veterinarians that I've done websites for over the years. And every time I talk to a new prospect, they ask me why I use a Squarespace. So I did a little test. I did a search. I did a query for dentists near me in different locations, and I looked at the sites that ranked number one, number two, and number three. 2 out of 3 times there were WordPress sites.
Yeah.
Not an official study, but an unofficial just a look through. But a lot of people put their websites on custom patient management systems that already have a website builder. Do
Mhm.
that, and then even GoDaddy's website builder, not good.
Horrible. And
So
ranking is not good because again,
yeah,
it's like Google's trying to find you through GoDaddy first and then you, where
yeah,
you could just be you. And
yeah,
that's same with Wix or Squarespace or any of those builders.
yeah.
Weebly or whatever, that was an old one. I don't know if it's still around.
It's still around. I come across
Yeah.
Weebly from time to time. People are like, "Yeah, it's
Yeah.
on Weebly." So I was like, "Okay,
Yeah.
enjoy your life."
That's fun about web design, but let's like dive into kind of your background and how you got started in digital marketing.
My story is a little bit weird because I don't come from a traditional marketing background. I'm not a designer, I'm not very artistic. I'm more of an engineer, numbers kind of guy. My background's in physics and math. That's what I went to school for. Because when you're growing up, where I grew up, that's all you did. You either did engineering or you became a doctor, or maybe if you're good enough, you became a lawyer, and the rest were just normal people. So
Yeah. Where
I
did
chose
you grow up?
engineer. I grew up in Nepal.
Okay, Nepal.
And so I chose engineering, physics, just because I was adequately good at math. I like math, enjoyed it. And then eventually I worked for an engineering company in the Midwest. And I didn't realize my job was actually part of their marketing group because they quickly realized that I was a talker. When you're working in engineering or programming and you got a talker, you put him in front, right? Because nobody else
Yeah.
likes to talk. So I went to trade shows, wrote application notes, did all kinds of things in marketing and communicated with the clients. And then eventually I just thought, you know what? this is what I'm not going to be an applications engineer the rest of my life. I'm just going to go into marketing. So I got an MBA in marketing from the University of Wisconsin and then started working for ad agencies. I moved to Phoenix and worked for some of their larger ad agencies. And it was good because at that time, marketing was moving away from just being about creative people and adding more analytics. And at the time that I started, it was very rare for a marketing agency to have a programmer on staff. Now it's like most our marketing agencies have a programmer on staff because it's also digital, right? And so I was the closest thing that they had. And so they needed me to communicate with the programmers and all that kind of stuff. And so analytics was my thing, digital marketing was up and coming, SEO was up and coming. So I just naturally gravitated to it because there's lots of numbers behind those, there's lots of reports behind those, and that's my background, right? Numbers and reports and analysis and development. So that's my background.
Awesome. And so now you have this digital marketing agency as well as you do web design. So tell us a little bit about the marketing aspect of it and like how a business would utilize you or what kind of services are probably hot right now that everyone's
Well,
using.
a lot of times small businesses I've worked with primarily small businesses over my career, so I would say mostly 10 million and under kind of businesses, right? So they're not
Mhm.
huge marketing budgets. Most of the time I am working with them to increase their visibility online because that's what everybody's looking for. They want to be found number one, number two, or they want people when they go to their website it needs to be looking good. They want people to convert from their website. They want people to call them from their website. Like it's a storefront, right? I mean, if somebody
Yeah.
walks into your store, you want them to buy something. So how people interact with your store is going to dependent on how your aisles are organized, your product placement, what are you featuring as people walk in through the door. That's the way that I usually explain web design to people is, hey, somebody walks in through your door in your store, what do they see first? You got to be very strategic all of that to your website, right? So we
Yeah.
primarily help with that. And there's big SEO implications on those because as much as I like WordPress, one of the things that is sometimes very challenging with WordPress is because you can do custom design, sometimes we've gotten a little crazy, myself and the designs have gotten crazy and the load time has gone up and the way that the browser renders your website, you might not feel it and you might not see it, but Google's algorithm is always timing you for, does the header load first, does the image load first, does the text load first, what order does it or load in, how long does it take for each of those elements to load, and then
Yeah.
multiply that by how does it do on mobile. And the March algorithm update really dinged you for a lot of those things. And so right now
Yeah.
I would say that's a big thing is we have one of our guys working on just going through all of our client websites at some of these metrics and trying to correct for those. So as much
Yeah.
as I like WordPress, it's like those are the kinds of things that you run
Yeah.
into, right?
Load
You need
time
some,
is really
yeah,
important. So
huge.
what would you say, like, how often should you be updating your website? Because I know, like, I come across some people who say, oh, I need a new website, or I'm good. I've had my website for 7 years. It's no big deal. Like, it still works. Or they've sometimes, some people have had them for 10, right, or longer, and they're not responsive. Like, they look horrible on a screen, meaning responsive, meaning how does it load on depending on the size of your screen? So how does it look on a big desktop computer? How does it look on a laptop? How does it look on an iPad or a Sony or Samsung, whatever kind of tablet you have, or a phone? And if it still looks the same on all across all of them, it's not responsive. So you want it
Right,
to
right.
respond to the size of your screen. But what do you find? How often should you update your site?
From a design standpoint,
Yeah,
I would say you definitely want to maybe every 3 or 4 or 5 years take a look at it just to make sure that you're not looking dated. Because the other thing is design styles change too, right? You
yeah,
can tell when a site's 8, 10 years old. Okay, so for certain industries, maybe not, right? You
yeah,
don't need to look hip and current. But there are certain industries where you do want to look like you're on top of things.
yeah,
If you're a technology company, or maybe you're like on the cutting edge of your industry, and you yourself are touting innovation and change as a brand, and your website looks like it's from 1994, cost those anymore. You know what I'm saying? So it's got to be on brand, I think.
yeah,
And so for me, I think if you go 5 years and you haven't really looked at it, it's a good time to reevaluate your website. I'm not
yeah.
saying you need to do a wholesale redesign, but there might be opportunities for changes, mixing things
Hmm.
up, and things like that.
Yeah.
But in terms
That's
of
why I like
content,
WordPress.
yeah, But in terms of content updates, yeah. And so for content updates, I would say you got to update it 3 or 4 times a month from just a
Yeah.
content perspective for SEO purposes.
Yeah, because you don't want a website just sitting there because then Google thinks, oh, this isn't new and fresh, so we're not going to be showing it on
Yeah.
the first page of Google search. Yeah.
Like just last night, I was doing a search for some medical questions I have. And as I was looking through because I'm in the industry, I always look at these things.
Mhm.
Like they're always showing content that's at least maybe 5 or 6 months old at max. So you might have written a blog post that answered my question very specifically, but if that was from 2023 January, no matter how well it's written, it's not showing up, right? And they showed me the Cleveland Clinic blog post from, I kid you not, February of 2025. And I thought, surely somebody blogged about this
Yeah.
before, right? Or it's not like I'm asking a very big question. I was asking a very fairly common medical question on this particular issue.
Mhm.
It just shows you how much Google loves fresh content, right? Because a
Yeah.
lot of times people will say, I don't have anything to say. I've already said it. Re-say it. Yeah. So
Before we get deep into marketing, I do want to bring up something you talked about before with the web design and making sure you have a good checkout and shopping cart and all of that stuff. I actually had a marketing guru that I follow that was saying, hey, if you're a business owner and you're not making much money, it's probably because you're not asking for it and there's nowhere to buy anything on your website. And I was like shocked because I was like, oh yeah, because my website was just information at the time and contact me to work with me.
right.
So there wasn't anywhere where you could pay me on the website. And so I was like, oh, even if I just went in and put in a deposit or something, like pay me to get a deposit down for the web design and then talk to me, that kind of thing. That because if you don't have a way to have a shopping cart or have a way to take money, that's probably why you're not doing a lot of sales right now. So I like that. I like that advice.
Yeah, no, I used to get a lot of questions in the past of like, how do I pay you? Because sometimes you're dealing with clients that maybe want to just pay online, set up a special page for people, just pay, and you could just go. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it is very important to give people that option. Yeah,
Mm.
that's good advice.
Yeah. So for most business owners, I know a lot of them are just more service industry or more my website's just for information purposes or to rank, but they just contact us or they call us. And it's
Yeah.
yeah, but you could also have where they contact you or set an appointment and do a deposit down or some kind of money down
Yeah.
because that way you're getting a little more. So I was just helping a hairdresser that was doing that, a stylist. And I was saying, yeah, you really need a deposit. Don't just put your calendar, take a deposit and then if they cancel, then she'll get more hair appointments because they don't cancel. So I thought that was good.
I always wonder about those calendars for service people because are you filtering that out? Because because time is money for you, literally. So if somebody just, it's so easy to set up an appointment and then all of a sudden flake out on it because they have no skin in the game. So in those
Mm,
situations, I agree. Even if it's like a $10 deposit, man,
yeah.
it's $10.
Let's deep dive into marketing now. What is working in marketing and how is AI changing things? Because AI has been changing things in my world for sure.
AI is just, although I did read an article this week saying that the rate at which AI is hallucinating has actually increased as the models have gotten into, as the reasoning models, in the later reasoning models. So
Mhm.
to me, that's interesting because
Yeah.
it's like the old garbage in, garbage out type thing.
Yeah.
And hallucination rates were really high. I think it was a New York Times article or one of the big publications. Don't quote me on it, but because these are the numbers I remember, but I think they were measuring anywhere between 30 and 55% hallucination rates. That's pretty big in my opinion, right? So I say that because I think computational elements of your job, if you've got an Excel sheet, and I've done this, upload an Excel sheet for taxes, for instance. I uploaded my Excel, I took my bank statements that downloaded the CSV, put it into AI, the custom chat GPT for Excel, and then I asked it to analyze it, categorize it, build out P&Ls and all that kind of stuff. Did a great job because you're giving it numbers, it knows how to do numbers, it does it, right?
Yeah.
But when I've asked it to even compare resumes, I use a resume for that or cover
Yeah.
letters for that. So
Yeah.
I did that just because I wanted to see how it works, right? And how much
Yeah.
it went. Not a very good job. It sounds like a 11th grader, high school, and I'm not even talking about an 11th grader with an A plus GPA. I'm talking
Yeah.
about an 11th grader that is basically mailing it in D plus. Sure wants me to write this essay, and I just wrote that essay
Right.
and I got it. So not very good. So in our
Yeah.
lab, it's really in the ideation research process where AI is
Mhm.
very helpful. But in terms of actually generating final content, client worthy content, moving content that moves the needle for your business, I'm not worried right now, to be honest with you. I'm not worried. I
Yeah.
was in 2023, but not right now.
Yeah. What I'm noticing is that I think there was a formula they were saying it was like 10, 80, 10, where you like give it 10% of yourself and then it writes like 80% of the content and then you edit 10% of it. But what we're finding in actual writing, like copywriting or book writing, that it's actually like a 2060, 2060-20, because you really, it can write a bulk of your outline or help you write copyright for your website. But if you're not editing it or double checking it and you have good writers that are checking it, then, or even checking for plagiarism and also spelling and also grammar,
Yeah.
because you think that it sounds okay, but it also depends on the input you give it. That's why I say 21st, because if you don't have it writing in the voice you want it to write in, or like you said, that wasn't writing the resumes correctly. I know there's custom GPTs and you can create your own custom GPT so it knows you. And I think if you don't give it the right inputs, you're not going to get the right output. So that's my take on AI. But
Yeah.
I think for marketing and SEO, like, how do you feel like it's helping with like helping you get like the right tags and keywords in SEO for, say, YouTube or for blog posts and that type of thing?
Honestly, instead of going to the open web and using ChatGPT, we're just using the AI tools that like SEM Rush and some of these
Mhm.
are building.
Yeah.
That's better than
Yes. And
going
going to
so
ChatGPT. And
going to
that's
ChatGPT.
because they've customs coded it to
Yeah.
be their own custom, like, here's all the stuff SEM Rush knows. So now the AI is going to pull from that instead of you just going to chat and saying, give me SEO keywords for my website.
Yeah, it
So it doesn't
doesn't.
know
I
where
mean,
to pull it from.
it
It
doesn't know
doesn't
where
know
to
the
pull it.
expertise.
Yeah, yes. So in terms of how we're using AI, we're usually sticking with the AI tools that are AI that's already built into our tools that we're using, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
instead of going out and seeing if I can get a new AI drill, I'm just using the AI that comes with my drill. And so just to kind of
Makes sense.
put it in perspective there. But
Yeah.
yeah, AI is very, to me, my physics paper in 1997 was actually on quantum computers, believe it or not. That
Wow.
was my senior project. And that was what 1997 is what now, Jen? We're aging ourselves
Long
here,
time.
but that was in the, as my daughter likes to say, in the 1900s. And even back then, when I was looking at quantum computers, until we get to quantum computer level, I don't think AI will match humans at all. That's just my opinion, because the
Yeah.
computational power that is required for to make those kind of decisions and have that level of creativity is just not there. It is not there.
Right.
Yeah. So we can, that's a whole different topic. But
Yeah.
one thing that I always like to point out when it comes to AI is human communication, especially since we're in marketing, right? Human communication is just complex. I
Mhm.
always go to this. I forget the name of the movie. I think it was the Inspector Clouseau movie, the Pink Panther movies, where
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
Inspector Clouseau is checking in at an inn, and so he shows up at the inn and he's talking to the innkeeper who's checking him in, right? And he notices, Inspector Clouseau notices a dog right next to the desk. And he says, "Does your dog bite?" And the innkeeper says, "No." And so Clouseau starts to pet the dog, and then the dog bites him. And then so Clouseau says, "I thought you said your dog doesn't bite." And he says, "Yeah, my dog doesn't bite. I don't know whose dog that is." And so when
Yeah.
you think about just that interaction, that is human interaction right there, right? Because
Mhm.
computer, like you could say, get me a keyword for this and this, but the computer does not understand all the context that's in your head. You might be
Exactly.
talking, there's so
Yeah.
many dimensions to human communication and interaction and creativity that even in that simple, that human being should have said,
Yeah.
"Does this dog bite?" versus
Exactly.
does your dog bite? That's a two different, just simple word, right? So anyway, so I always use that example because it shows you how complex human communication is. And I think AI, we're in marketing, we're communicating, we're trying to generate action from what people see in the creative end, from the websites, from the ad copy we have, the images we have. We're trying to solicit a reaction from people, get interaction going, get them to do something for our brand, for our company, for our position. And it's complicated. And I
Yeah.
think that I would even go the 40-20 rule almost,
Yeah.
like you got to put
Right.
40 in and let AI do 40 and then you do the last 20, you know what I mean? So
Yeah. I like that. Let's talk a little bit about pay per click and if Facebook ads work and that kind of thing. What are you seeing right now as far as getting ranked number one on Google?
pay per click is a money machine for Google. And as the years go by, the less I like it because I feel like it's being abused. I'm just going on
Mhm.
an old man rant here, Jen.
So good.
I think Google needs to be broken up for this reason. Have you
Yeah.
noticed that when you do a search nowadays, it's they don't even tell you if it's very difficult to tell if it's pay per click ad or not.
Yeah, the
And then
sponsored button's getting smaller and
yeah,
smaller.
and then
Same
now
with
with
on Amazon. Amazon's the same.
yeah,
We deal with books and pay per click on Amazon, and half the time you don't know it's a paid book or it's or even a product. I'll be searching for a product and I won't know that it's sponsored, and there's a better product than the one that I'm clicking on, but it's there because and I didn't see the sponsored. It's like this small.
yeah, yeah. And then the other thing is the AI overview section now takes up so much of the search engine SERP that the only way, because now people are not scrolling, right? So if you ask a reasonably inquisitive question, it's not always the case. If you're looking for a restaurant near me, you're not going to see this. But if you ask for, hey, should I do Thai food or compare Thai food and Vietnamese food or something like that, you're going to get an AI overview section that's going to
Yeah,
take up,
Gemini's first now.
yeah, and it takes up half your screen. And then after that, you might have maps, and after that, you might have Google Ads. Organic is just not there. And
Yeah,
stick on that, then yes, you're going to get traffic, right? In fact, you're going to get 10 times more traffic than what you normally would have gotten because of
yeah,
that. Now, whether that's relevant or not, that's a different question. But then because of that, PPC is now so important. Like you
yeah.
literally have to pay Google to get any kind of ranking on
Mhm.
web on the search engine. And I think part of that is because there's not enough competition. I'm a big believer in competition. We need another search engine, at least two other search engines, and it's time. We can't live
Yeah.
in a world with 90% domination by one company. That's not answering your question. That's going on an old man
No,
rant.
but I agree. Like even I ran across one of my clients, older clients, that's using Edge for their browser. And I was like, you got to open Chrome. It's not working how we need to work it. But it's because Chrome works better. Google works better than Bing or than Edge or than whatever Safari or whatever Apple search or whatever, right? It works better. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's interesting what you say about the Gemini showing up in the top, the AI showing up in the top. We actually had a call the other day on Tuesday that they said that they found us searching Chat GPT. So they were searching for a book publisher and found us on Chat GPT. So have you ever had clients that are saying like, how do I get in that Gemini? How do I get in the top of the Gemini or how do I get found? Or we've had clients ask us like, if someone asks Alexa to find a certain, like a dentist or whatever, will they be able to be on that list or will they be able to be on there? So have you had those kind of inquiries or how do you do all that?
I have had those inquiries from very highly sophisticated clients, not
Yeah.
your normal average client. Part of that is we address that in the SEO side. I mean,
Yeah.
all of that is addressed in the schema markups that you create for your
Mhm.
website and what you upload and how you organize your site and what
Yeah.
metadata you have on your website. It's very challenging to get on Alexa. I mean,
Yeah.
it's very challenging to get on ChatGPT. I think new players are going to have a hard time. What we're is if you have been generating really quality content for any number of years and you are seen as an expert in your field,
Yeah.
ChatGPT is picking you up. So the
Yes.
Google algorithms that you've been following, if you've been following that and you've been putting content, generating good high quality content, then they're automatically indexing you and putting that you
Yeah.
in that. Now, whether or not you can get in number one, number two, number three, they don't necessarily rank you, but that's a whole different story. And I
Yeah.
don't know. And I think that's where SEO is headed. In
Yeah.
fact, it's having enough of an impact that Google's search market share dropped below 90% for the first time since 2015.
Wow.
So it's having an impact, and I want to see
Yeah.
that market share go down. I want to see it go
Yeah.
down to 60, and I want ChatGPT, U.com, Perplexity, all
Yep.
these other cloud, all these people to start taking some market share so that there's some
Yeah.
competition. Because otherwise, the cost of getting on search engines is going to increase for small businesses.
For sure.
Otherwise, you're going to have to pay just to get a client through your door to get a phone call. It's going to cost you $70, $80.
Yeah.
So I think it's
Okay.
real. Yeah, because you got to pay per click
Yep.
and the cost of CPC just keeps going up year over year. And
Yeah.
so a small business that wants to get any kind of traction online is going to have to shell out an additional 20-30% of their marketing budget just to get any kind of rankings. So I
Yeah.
think we're in very interesting times right now. So I'm rooting for the small guys. I'm rooting for the search engines that could, and
Yep.
it's time for change. So
Yeah. I
anyway,
agree.
and I don't like it. Ones that I have with clients on PPC is very interesting because a lot of times when I talk to small businesses, they don't really realize how much it costs to be on PPC.
Yeah.
Because unless you're going to do it yourself, the system is extremely complicated, right? They've tried to make it AI friendly, user friendly, and things like that, but you don't understand a lot of the things that's happening in there. And
Yeah.
then all of a
That's
sudden,
what
it's
why
hard
Google
dollar.
is so rich, right? Because they take a lot of the small business owners who don't know what they're doing and don't realize that they really have to be paying $500 to $1,000 a month to Google
Minimum.
to even,
Yeah.
and then minimum, and then paying someone to actually manage that. Because if you just throw the money at it, it's not going to do anything. You got to have an
Yeah,
expert
and then
knowing
and
what
then
they're
also
doing.
the other thing that you really have to understand about PPC is that, and a lot of business owners don't necessarily understand this, is it's a numbers game, right?
Yeah.
You have to work your numbers backwards. So you have to
Mhm.
say to yourself, how much am I willing to pay for a phone call? Right? So that's your cost per lead. So then let's say, how many of those phone calls actually convert into business? So if five people call your shop and two buy, and what are they buying, right? Are they going to buy the $5 gum at the checkout counter, or are they going to load up their shopping cart? So
Yeah.
you have to ask those questions before you do PPC, because without those numbers, it's very difficult to set the right budget. And to get those five phone calls, you might need 50 people to show up on your website. That means you need 50 clicks. If each $15, you're already looking at several $100, close to $1,000 per month just to get those five phone calls.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a very numbers game. And so when I talk to small business owners, those are my questions. How to do
Mhm.
PPC. Lots of people know how to do BPC. That's not where the game's at. The game's at, can you deliver an ROI? And how well do you know your own business? What are you trying to push? So
Yeah.
to me, a lot of times I'll tell clients, if you're not willing to pay at least $1,500 a month and you can't tolerate like maybe more than $35, $40 per call, and your product is only $7 a click or $7 at the cart, don't do it. You got to run
Yeah.
these numbers.
Not worth it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not worth it at all. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that you're such an expert at pay per click. I think people should contact your company, New Wine Digital, if they're looking for pay per click or any type of web design or marketing. I really liked what I just summarized what we talked about here. And I really liked what you talked about with the Claude and Perplexity. If you guys don't know what those are, go to Claude.ai and Perplexity. I've been using Perplexity just to compare things because it does shows you right where it's getting the resource from. ChatGPT is doing that a little bit now, where it's showing you where it got its information. But Perplexity's always done it, and I really like Perplexity for that reason. Another fun one I've been using is, was it called Glock? No, it's
Grok.com.
Grok with an R. Grok.
I love
Yeah,
Grok. I love Grok.
they're
Yeah.
taking information from X or from Twitter, so it's cool because you get to summarize the news or summarize what people are talking about, and it's just taking all the information from Twitter, which I thought was cool, or from X. But yeah, definitely reach out to Silas. Tell us where people can go to find you.
Being a marketing guy, I'm available pretty much anywhere. So if you Google my name, you'll find me right away. I'm on LinkedIn. I actually pare down my social media because it's too much time. I don't do Instagram anymore. I don't do Facebook much anymore. I'm a visitor on x.com for Grok. Is the best way to get a hold of me. Otherwise, my website, newwinedigital.com, is the best way to get a hold of me. My phone number's there, my email's there, forms there. You can get a hold of me pretty quickly.
Sounds great. Thanks, Silas, for being on the show today. Please subscribe. And if you like this podcast, please share it with someone who you know would benefit. And we'll talk to you guys next time on Elite Expert Insider.
Hey, are you looking to increase your revenue, build credibility, and elevate your brand? This podcast is brought to you by Elite Online Publishing, an innovative publishing and full spectrum marketing company. They will publish and market your book to make it a #1 bestseller. Becoming an author is the best way to market your business. So contact them at eliteonlinepublishing.com today. All of their authors become #1 bestsellers.